I'm back. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right? So, anyways, well, let's just get right into it. This is an experimental video for my entertainment purposes only. And that's why, I always try to remind people any and everything that I say could be wrong. Therefore, it's very important that you do your own research and come to your own conclusions. In this video, I want to kind of just focus on the 2 or 3 subjects to just kind of as a springboard and just kind of flesh them out in real time improv. And excuse me. So a couple of them being one of them I wanted to get into the anagrams. What is it? The learned helplessness and anagrams, and then also like self-sufficiency and how these things, and kind of tie them all in together and wrap it all up with a bow and blah blah blah. So yeah, so we'll just start going right into this, So self-sufficiency, self-sufficiency is gonna be kind of over here in the peripheral, while we kind of focus right immediately on the learned helplessness. And I don't know if you guys saw this. There was this really cool video, very short, of course, and it was a video, and it was about learned helplessness. What learned helplessness is. And so this teacher, you may have seen this video, and if you do, just kind of bear with me. I'm just going to kind of explain the whole idea of learned helplessness through this experiment that this teacher did. So this teacher did this learned helplessness experiment, and she didn't tell the students, and they're like high school age students. They might have even been college students. I'm not sure. They look between 17 and 22 or something. So it might have been college. I don't know. But and so she didn't tell them what she was doing. And what it was anagrams. And so anagrams is like, I'm sure you're probably more familiar with anagrams than me. And so what she did is she split the classroom in half, exactly in half. And she printed out these worksheets and then handed them out to the classroom. This was the experiment. And one half of the classroom got the anagrams that were simple and comprehensive. The other half of the classroom got what appeared to be anagrams, but that 2 of the 3 anagrams were literally impossible to do. And the third one was moderately complex, moderately, whatever, right? But so the class, this half of the classroom, when they got the 3 anagrams, they were 2 of them were like totally like first grade level anagrams, and then the third one was the moderately complex anagram. Okay. And she didn't tell the students. She just was like, okay, we're going to do this thing. It's anagrams. I want you guys, here's your sheets. And now I want you guys, I'm going to give you a certain amount of time, and I want the class to figure out these anagrams. And the anagram, I don't know if I'm pronounced that right, but I think it's called the anagram or anagram, is where, like, for example, you take a word like bat. And this is how simple this side of the classroom's anagrams were. It was like the word bat. So it's spelled B-A-T, and you take that word and you rearrange the letters to create a different word. So bat, that's easy. Tab, right? And so this half of the classroom they all got 3 anagrams, but this half of the classroom, 2 of the 3 were like super easy. Bat, and mom or something like that, or whatever. Like, I can't remember what the words were, and then the third one was a moderately complex anagram. But on this side of the classroom, they were given 3 as well, and 2 of them were impossible. You cannot make an anagram out of those words. And then the third one was the same moderately complex word, which is America. And so then she set the timer, the classroom is working on it, and there was video, and the students didn't know. And the students on this side were like, they were just like, what the fuck? They're looking at this and shaking their head, and they're looking like frustrated, and they're looking around like, what the fuck? And then the people on this side of the classroom, they were all like, just like dutifully, doing the assignment, like no problem, like, right? And then the students like on this side were like looking like, what the fuck? And looking and is like, dude, like what the fuck? And then she's like, okay, time's up. Right? And this was a learned helplessness experiment that she did, and she didn't tell them. And then she's like, okay, time's up. And then she goes, okay, how many of you were able to complete this assignment with not very many problems? And then like a bunch of the students that got the easy assignment, they were all like, raise their hand, like, oh, no problem. And I don't know if she exactly split it down the half. I think she might have mixed them up or something. She may have, because splitting it down the middle of the classroom might have been too obvious. So she probably had it scattered about, but it was equal halves of the classroom. So anyways, the ones that got the easy shit, they're just like, and they're kind of proud, like they really accomplished something great. And then the students that didn't get it, they were looking at the people that raised their hand like, what the fuck? Like they were tripping out. Then she goes, okay, how many of you guys kind of had some problems and were kind of struggling with getting the correct words? And then she goes over it, right, and goes over the words. And then she explains to the classroom like, well, this was an experiment, and it's called... The experiment is based in a term called learned helplessness. And so all of you students that were able to, do these anagrams and complete them successfully, you all got the easy ones. The only word, and then you all that struggled with it, you all got the difficult ones. The only word that was the same was the one that the anagram spells America. And so all you that got the easy ones, you were able to do the America anagram. All you that got the impossible, the nearly impossible anagram, you couldn't even figure out the America. And that's because the other 2 words, it's impossible to do an anagram with those. So this was an experiment in what is called learned helplessness, right? Again, I don't know how many of you saw that video, but that was like, it was really crazy. And the students were just like, whoa, bro, like it's crazy. And so you can really like look at that. Like the students that got the anagram assignment that was actually doable, they were all really confident, and they were like felt good that they had accomplished it. And so when she's like, how many of you did it? They all like were like, yeah, like real badass. And the people that got the assignment that was impossible to complete, they were feeling, you could see they were feeling shameful and confusion, and they were looking at the students that did finish it like in awe, like how the fuck did that person do that, right? And that's called learned helplessness, okay? And so it was a really interesting video. I probably would have been smart to like download it into my phone and save it, but of course I didn't. And yeah, some of you guys may have saw that video. But anyways, so how does this relate with self-sufficiency? The idea of self-sufficiency. Well, when you look at this experiment and the reaction of the students that completed the assignment that could be completed, they were all learning how awesome they are. Like, look, I did that on my own, like all by myself. I accomplished. I figured this out, right? Like I was self-sufficiently of my own virtue and accord without any help. I did that. Like they were like proud that they had figured out the anagram thing. And then, but the students that got the impossible assignment that is impossible to complete, they learned helplessness. Like they were in awe of like that they couldn't figure it out. They were just like, I must be a dumb fuck. Like, what the fuck? How did they get it? I don't understand. Like, I'm totally confused. And so they didn't feel self-sufficient at all. Not only were they not in a confident state of self-sufficiency, they were in a state of morbid self-reflection, where they were looking at themselves like they were embarrassed of themselves because they didn't know that the assignment is impossible. So self-sufficiency. See how that works? So let's draw the line, and we got this half over here that got the easy assignment, and then this half over here that got the impossible assignment. And none of them knew. It was a total experiment. Well, the ones on this side, they believed in their mind how they, through self-sufficiency, they just completed that, right? And the ones over here, they believed in their mind that they're just a loser. Like they're just like very low IQ, like total lack of any type of self-sufficiency at all. And let's say now that the teacher didn't tell any of the students that it was that it was an experiment, and so this half of the classroom would have walked away in morbid self-reflection, like looking at themselves as like, what's wrong with me? Whereas this side of the classroom would have walked away really proud of themselves, with a sense of confident self-sufficiency that they carry with them, right? Part of my point of what I'm saying is that self-sufficiency is total fucking bullshit. It's a lie. Self-sufficiency in a general way is a lie. Total lie. Reminds me of a lyric in a Grateful Dead song that says, "We all need each other. All you know it's true." Or there's a Faith No More song that says the same thing. Without me, you're only you. Without me, you're only you. We all need each other. When you go to the grocery store, are you self-sufficiently gathering all that food because you worked for that food, right? As you go to the grocery store and pick out that's self-sufficiency. You don't need all the people that were involved in growing that food and getting it to the grocery store so that your self-sufficient ass could walk in there and with your, in all your self-sufficient confidence and walk in and just confidently buy that food. You didn't need all those people because you're self-sufficient. You gathered that food all on your own. You don't need those people that grew that food and brought it to your city or town or wherever you live and stocked the shelves of that store with that. You don't need those plebs. You're self-sufficient. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Self-sufficiency in a general way is total fucking bullshit. It's a complete lie. And we all need each other. Like the humans by their own nature need interaction with other human beings. They will die. Like if you haven't you heard of the idea like a mother who isn't affectionate with their child? Like children need physical affection from their mothers, like physical touch and that's intimate, that's gentle and caring physical touch. If babies don't get that, they can literally die. Does that mean that it's because that baby is just not self-sufficient enough? It was a defective baby. It was a lesser child. It was not as, again, self-sufficiency in a general way is total fucking bullshit. You rely on people every day, all day for like almost everything that you do. If you have a car, well, you had to rely on some person or people to build that fucking car. Oh, but I bought it because I'm a hard worker. So yeah, I'm telling you, self-sufficiency is total bullshit. It's total bullshit. Going back to the learned helplessness. If you had half of a population that were taught that they're smart when they're really not, when really they're just of average intelligence, but you teach them how smart they are and how self-sufficient they are, and you coddle them in an environment where they can believe and feel confident that they are self-sufficient, even though in reality they actually need each other. And then the other half of that population, you treat them like that they are unworthy and that they are inferior and that they fail to achieve the they fail to achieve what is necessary to survive in this society. If you have a mass of people and you separate them and you treat some of them as though they're great self-sufficient people and the other people you treat them as inferior failures that cannot, well, they're gonna actually, both groups of people learn that's learned helplessness on both things, because the people that you have brainwashed into thinking that they're self-sufficient, you're teaching them helplessness. Like they're helpless in the sense that you've taught them a delusional perception of reality, just as much as you've taught the other half of the people a delusional perception of reality. And so learned helplessness, the whole idea of learned helplessness, look at the whole concept and idea of learned helplessness, and then look at the idea of self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency in the general sense is total bullshit. Anybody that claims they're self-sufficient, if you were to just even take just take a glance at their life. Like, they drive a car, well, they depended on somebody to build that car. They put gas in the car, well, they have to depend on the gas station and all the everything and all the people involved in having fuel pumps that have gas, so that so-called self-sufficient person can go and fill up their tank. Like that, anybody who claims they're self-sufficient, they're lying to themselves and everyone else, because they are literally dependent on everyone around them. When they go to the grocery store, when they go to the gas station, when they go to the car lot to buy a car, when they go pretty much virtually anywhere, they're dependent on police to uphold justice. They're dependent on the police and the government and all this stuff to uphold some kind of semblance of living in a society that isn't full of violence and blah blah blah. People depend on people all day, and no one is exempt from that. No one is. And people that learn helplessness on this side of the spectrum, where they're taught that they're not they're incapable and they're unworthy and they're those people have to learn self-sufficiency much more than the people that are coddled and taught that they're just they're very successful and they're very that both things are forms of learned helplessness. But when in reality we all need each other. Everybody. I'll end it with this, because this is, I'm really kind of dying down, but I'm doing videos because I'm totally bored and I'm just going through this phase where I'm doing a video dump. But learned helplessness and self-sufficiency. I'm telling you, self-sufficiency in a general way is just it's complete bullshit. It's complete bullshit. It's virtue signaling bullshit. Anybody that's trying to present themselves as self-sufficient. It's just virtue signaling. It's virtue signaling, and it's bullshit in a general sense. Because, all people need other people, always. It's part of human nature. You can't just live alone. You cannot. Unfortunately, I know, right? So, that's just one of the many strange phenomena that we see all around us, is all these people presenting this false illusion that they are self-sufficient, when it's bullshit. That's what I keep trying to tell you. It's bullshit. And really, one of the things that fuels division more than anything else, because that's how the rulers, the the beast system, or whatever you want to call it, the people that rule over you, that's how they keep the rule of thumb over you, is by dividing everyone, so people are all divided. One of the most effective ways that the rulers keep the people below them divided is through the idea of self-sufficiency. Guaranteed. Self-sufficiency is what has everyone breaking off into warring factions, each group saying to the other, we're right and you're wrong. We're self-sufficient, you're not. And you see it everywhere, all the time, in everything. From politics to religion to the apolitical, to the truther movement, any and everything. All these factions of people breaking off into warring factions. And it's all based in what divides people is the idea of self-sufficiency. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. And all the idea of self-sufficiency does is it perpetuates more division, which in turn is advantageous for the rulers, the people that rule over you. They love it. They love to continue pushing the idea of self-sufficiency. And I'm telling you, it's total bullshit. So, all people need each other. And so I'll end it with this. This is an example of what I'm, it may not be a good example, but I find it fascinating nonetheless. So, when I used to do my Angry Hobo channel, right? And I like to fuck with these guys in the politics and shit because they're just so full of contradictions. They contradict themselves so often, all the time, right? In the liberal side and the conservative side, they're always contradicting themselves, and it's hilarious. And so, one time I was watching Styx Hexenhammer, dude, and he was doing a live stream with Ramsey Paul and Son of a Cod or whatever. Is that how you say it? Son of a Cod. The guy, I think he's from the UK or something. Son of a Cod. So it was Styx Hexenhammer, Ramsey Paul, and Son of a Cod, right? And they opened up the chat. So Son of a Cod was the special guest, and Ramsey Paul and Styx used to do once a week a live stream. And and I was doing they Styx and more so Ramsey Paul. Ramsey Paul got to know me on the internet. I became a familiar face in his live streams. So he's like, "Oh, Angry Hobo," right? and Styx did too, but he's got a bigger subscriber base, so I don't know how often he would recognize you, but I know he would. Sometimes he'd see and be like, "Oh, that's that crazy fucker." And so Son of a Cod was their guest, right? And so it was live streaming, and so I did what do they call that when you donate money? Super chat. I did a super chat during the live stream, right? And what I did is I took a Trump quote, because Ramsey Paul, Styx, and Son of a Cod, they're all Trumpers, and they were real big into Trump back then. They're maybe more so than they are now, but but whatever the case, and so I sent him a power chat, whatever you call it, for like $5, maybe 10, whatever. And I used the quote, Trump quote. I said, so I posed this to them as a question. I said, "Hey, Trump said that that we need to stop giving all this money." This is like a Trump quote, a literal Trump quote, where Trump said we need to stop giving all of our money to all these countries that hate us. We give all this money to all these countries that would rather see us dead just as soon we died, like that. And we're sending them all this money every year, like billions of dollars every year. We're sending money to all these countries that hate us when we could be using that money to help homeless Americans. That's literally a Trump quote, which I've never heard any politician ever say anything like that in my entire life, ever. Which is one reason why I view Trump a little differently than other people. At least he said that that's truth. Nobody wants to say that truth. The only reason Trump did is because he has nothing to lose. He can say the truth, and he's got nothing to lose. Like, fuck you, who cares? That's why he said it, because it's truth, and he's got nothing to lose by telling the truth. All these other people, they have all this shit to lose by telling the truth. And so anyway, so I presented that Trump quote. I was like, hey, Trump said this. And then I asked, is that something that you guys would agree with? Or what are your thoughts on that Trump quote? I asked that in the super chat. And it was super funny, right? Because it was, the responses were totally predictable. So Styx was like it was like totally just like, oh yeah, I agree with that. And that's it. Like, he didn't want it, because part of the question was, what are your guys' thoughts? And Styx is like, oh yeah, I think Ramsey Paul read it. And then Styx is like, he's like, what do you think, Styx? And Styx is just like, oh yeah, I agree with that. Right? And then Ramsey Paul is like, yeah, I agree with that. So they didn't want to talk about it at all. And it was super funny, because that's the whole reason I brought it up, to watch them. Like, watch their reaction, because they're all about Trump. But I know dude, I know, like Styx and Ramsey, they would never support that idea to stop giving money to all these countries and start using the money to help the American homeless people. And that is literally what Trump said. And I knew they wouldn't, that question would be uncomfortable for him, and they wouldn't want to talk about it. And sure enough, so their responses were like totally gold. They were so predictable. Styx is like, yeah, I agree with that. That's it. Like, that's all he wanted to say. And then Ramsey Paul's the same. Oh yeah, but yeah, I agree with that. Just like nothing, right? And then, so Hassan of Akkad, that's his name, Hassan of Akkad. He's the only one. And it's because he's not from America, right? So you can tell, that was one of the reasons. Also, a son of Akkad is a big talker like I am. A son of Akkad, he'll just talk and talk and talk. And so at first he was real quiet. And they're like, and I'm just like waiting. And then a son of Akkad was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna share what I think. And he goes, no. He goes, no, actually, I would disagree. That's one thing that Trump said that I would disagree with. And this is why. And then he goes into this explanation as to why. Check out his explanation. His explanation is he disagrees with Trump that we need to stop giving money to all these other countries that don't give a fuck about us and start using that money to help the American homeless people. And a son of Akkad disagrees with that because of the following. And he explains. That money that's going to all these other countries is the only thing keeping world peace. It's the only thing that keeps these countries from going to fucking war. So even though these countries hate us, they gladly accept the money that we're sending, and that's like really the only thing that keeps America from going to war with these countries, and vice versa. These countries going to war with America. And so if Trump were to do that, stop sending money to all these countries and start using it to help the homeless, that's the only reason he disagrees with it, is because if you stop giving that, if you do that, even though maybe it is the right thing to do, if you do that, it has a high potential to cause a fucking war with another country. And so, therefore, a son of Akkad disagreed. Think about that. So, So the peace between America and other countries lies solely on the backs of homeless people. Even though homeless people in America deserve that money that is getting sent to other countries, Trump is exactly right. We could be using that money should go to our own people that are suffering poverty in America. That is 100% correct. And that we're, instead of using that money to help our own Americans, like homeless, those most in need of financial help, like the homeless, we continue sending that money to all these other countries. Why? Because to keep the peace, to prevent a war from breaking out. That's why we send money to all these other countries. Again, think about that. So the peace between countries is on the burden and backs of all these hundreds of thousands of homeless people walking the streets in across the U.S. That in truth they deserve to get financial assistance, but because we have to send all our money to all these other countries to prevent war, those homeless people must suffer without any pay, without anything, and no acknowledgement that, hey, if the circumstances were right, money would actually go to help you get off the street. But because the money has to get sent to all these other countries in order to keep peace and to prevent war from breaking out, because of that, you will receive no help. You must remain homeless. No acknowledgement, no pay, no reparations, no recompensation, no nothing. Just like, fuck you. Just stay on the streets. Fuck you, because you all suck anyways. Look at, you're all just crazy, lazy, mentally ill, drug addicted, la di da. So a son of a cod. Now these are fucking staunch, like conservative, libertarian type people. Sticks and Ramsey Paul, they really don't agree with that. What Trump said when Trump said we need to stop giving this money to all these countries that don't give a shit about us, when we could be using that money to help homeless Americans. See, even though Trump said it, and in my opinion, my prideful opinion, Trump is 100% correct in that statement. Totally spot on. And nobody has the balls to say that, let alone someone in a position like Trump. Trump is a rare gem. Not even you have the balls to say that. Not even the majority of any viewer who would watch my fucking channel has the balls to say or admit that that's the truth. We need to stop giving all this money to all these countries, and that money it's more important that money goes to help like homeless Americans. And I'm telling you, the reason Trump said it is because Trump doesn't have anything to lose by telling the truth. And that is the truth that pretty much nobody wants to admit. Because it's an uncomfortable truth. That's very uncomfortable to admit that. Because then you have to look at homeless differently. Like, maybe they really do deserve to be treated like human beings. Never thought of that before, right? And so, but I'm saying, like, Sticks doesn't agree with that, but he said he does, because it put him on the spot on the live stream. Trump said this. Sticks, and Trump said this. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that statement that Trump said? And Sticks is just I agree. That's it. Nothing. That's his thoughts. And Ramsey Paul the same. I agree. And then nothing. Just crickets. And Khan of Assad, that's his name, Khan of Assad, or son of Akkad, I can't. He was like, I could tell he was really wanting to talk, and he was kind of like looking at him like, well, they're not saying nothing. That's weird. And then he's like, you know what? I would like to talk about it, and that's what he said. The only reason he disagrees is because if that money actually went to U.S. homeless as opposed to these countries, war would likely ensue as a result of that. So that's the only reason that the homeless people that actually deserve to receive financial help don't get it, is because by doing so would cause a war. So, and that's true too. What he said, I believe there is a lot of truth to this. That homeless people carry all these burdens that do not get acknowledged. See, and if a Khan of Assad or Hassan of Akkad is right, then you are depending on homeless people to keep the very country that you live in from going to war, and you don't even know that you have this dependence on homeless people. Homeless people are the only thing that has been preventing the country you live in from going to war, and you possibly getting drafted into that war. That's the only thing that prevents the country you live in from going to war, or one of the few things. Those are one of the few groups of people, and they don't get any acknowledgement. Not only do they not get any acknowledgement, they get spit on, shit on, stepped on, shit on, spit on, stepped on, pointed on, and fucked with by lesser men. Lesser men are spitting on him, shitting on him, pissing on him. They don't get any. It's a thankless job being a hobo. So, and I know, so then you're going to want to say, oh, well, that's not true. That's not true. Homeless people, yeah, right. No. Well, a Khan of Assad, listen to what he said. He said, if America stopped sending that money to these other countries and started using it to help the homeless, it would cause a war. Or it would potentially cause a war. Like all that money getting sent out to all these other countries from America is one of the biggest things that keeps the peace in all these countries. And if you cut it off and start appropriating it to people in the U.S. that need it, it could potentially cause a war. I mean, you can disagree. I would agree. But whatever. So anyways, learned helplessness.